Briz at a dead end. Parliament has rejected Prime Minister Theresa May's proposed Brexit deal. Twice. Last night it voted against crashing out of the European Union without a deal. There is not enough support for a second Brexit referendum. And Ms. May has repeatedly, unambiguously ruled out calling an election. The country's politicians are against everything and in favor of nothing. Which is a problem, given Britain is supposed to leave the EU in a fortnight. Related, how Parliament voted on no deal Brexit. Ms. May is now telling MPs the only alternative to supporting her deal is to seek a long extension to the Article 50 process, which would push the March 29 deadline back by months or even years. She says Parliament needs to face up to the consequences of the decisions it has taken. Labour says there is another option. Ms. May could drop her opposition to an election. The Prime Minister has run down the clock, and the clock has been run out on her. Opposition leader Jeremy Corbyn said, "It's time that we have a general election and the people can choose who the government should be." Former Brexit Minister David Davis, who resigned from Ms. May's cabinet last year over her handling of the negotiations, declared an election was a lot more likely when Ms. May's deal was rejected again this week. "I don't say it's going to happen, but clearly if a government can't get through on the one issue which we were really elected to deal with at the last election, it puts us all in a very difficult situation," Mr. Davis said. But perhaps Mr. Corbyn should be careful what he wishes for. You would expect Labour to win an election easily. Ms. May's Conservative government has been a shambles for 2 years now, and when a government is in disarray, the opposition wins. Right. It is nowhere near that simple. Recent polling actually puts the Tories well ahead of Labour, and the gap is widening. In the last 3 major polls, the government has been ahead by an average of 10%. If that kind of result were replicated at an election, Ms. May would actually gain seats. Why is Labour so unpopular? One reason is Mr. Corbyn's own handling of Brexit. Ms. May can't get her deal passed, but at least voters know what she wants to do. Mr. Corbyn has kept his position on Brexit ambiguous for years, simply claiming Labour would negotiate a better deal with Europe than the current government. His approach was designed to avoid upsetting Labour's supporters, about 2/3 of whom voted to remain in the EU in the 2016 referendum, while the other third wanted to leave. "I think that Jeremy has been hedging," Labour MP David Lammy said in January, putting it bluntly. "If we went back 2.5 years, it is absolutely clear the Labour Party, like the Conservative Party, was split on this issue. Mr. Corbyn could not go to an election hedging on the biggest issue facing the country. He would have to settle on a clearer policy, and risk alienating some voters in the process." There are other problems with his leadership as well. Last month 7 Labour MPs, including former leadership contender Chuka Umunna, quit the party in protest at Mr. Corbyn's Brexit stance, the bullying behaviour of his supporters, and his failure to crack down on anti-Semitism. "I am leaving behind a culture of bullying, bigotry and intimidation," said one member of the group, Luciana Berger. Ms. Berger said she had become embarrassed and ashamed to be a Labour MP, and claimed the party was institutionally anti-Semitic. 7 rogue MPs formed a new quasi-party, the Independent Group, which is threatening to siphon off votes from Labour's right flank. Since the initial split, another Labour MP and 3 Tories have joined them. Ms. May is not a popular Prime Minister, not even close, but she does have a higher approval rating than Mr. Corbyn. A recent Ipsos Mori poll found 72% of voters were dissatisfied with his performance, the worst rating ever recorded by a Labour leader. So, why is Ms. May so resistant to the idea of calling an election? Because she has been in a similar situation before. In 2017 she called a snap election, expecting to beat Mr. Corbyn easily. No one gave the left-wing Labour leader a chance. But he comprehensively out-campaigned Ms. May, eroded her double-digit lead and ended up reducing her government a minority in Parliament. It was a humiliating result for the Prime Minister, so much so that when she faced a challenge to her leadership of the Conservatives in December, she promised to step aside before the next election, which isn't due until 2022. Ms. May gambled on an election once before, and it blew up in her face. But with Parliament hopelessly deadlocked on Brexit, she is running out of options.